Stephen C. Productions.
As long as you're putting your best foot forward and you're doing stuff for the right reasons, no bad can come from it. That's what you have to be doing, and that's what everybody should be doing. Is we should just be taking all best action forward to help improve everybody around us as well as ourselves, and just continue to grow on a daily basis.
You are listening to Talking from Experience. If you're an experienced listener, welcome back. And if you didn't know, you're about to learn. My name is Steven, and I am your host. Today, I'll be talking with Ron Nussbaum. He's the co-founder of a company called Nuttnest, and what Nuttnest is, essentially, is an app that simplifies communication between construction contractors and their customers. Honestly, going into the interview, I was a little worried that we weren't going to have a lot to talk about, but it turns out that Ron decided to start Nuttnest for some of the very same reasons that I started doing this podcast. I had a great time having this conversation, and if you've liked the show this far, I know you're going to enjoy it as well. Check it out. What is 10X Incubator?
So the 10X Incubator was a tech incubator that Grant Cardone and 10X and everybody set up. Not everybody, he set up down in Florida in Miami. So what they did was they had over 20-some thousand applicants submit IDs, come in and pitch them. And out of those, less than 100 companies were accepted into that. And Nuttnest was one of those.
Okay, and they help you get started up?
Yeah. They just helped. They made some connections and stuff and helped get us up and going. They got me connected with Jared Yellen from Project 10K, who's actually one of my co-founders now. And we have a great friendship.
That's really cool. And what's Nuttnest?
We are a customer communication platform built for the construction industry. So one of the biggest breakdowns in construction is communication. And one of the reasons that happens is because there's a bunch of different stuff out there. You got emails, text messages, WhatsApp, all these different forms that people use. What we do is Nuttnest allows a singular place for all of that communication to happen. And then where the magic really starts to happen is we direct that traffic like air traffic control. So we make sure that customer is talking to the right person at that company every time, and we create one call solutions. So no more hearing, hey, sorry, I'm not the guy.
I actually had somebody who was in construction management not too long ago here on the show. And yeah, he said that that's one of the biggest issues is communication. And, sometimes you order the wrong material or too much of it or something like that. And then lots of money can be lost just because of the miscommunication.
Yeah. So over 90% of customer complaints come from communication breakdowns. And it's reported that 35% of time spent on job sites is wasted. And most of that can be tracked back to communication breakdowns as well. So it's really a major issue in the construction industry, as well as something that really cripples reputations, as well as hurts profitability.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of waiting around for someone to get back to you about XYZ.
Yeah, absolutely. It took me about 2.5 years to find the right people to be around. I'm a non-technical tech founder. So I'm not from Silicon Valley. I'm from the Midwest in a job site. So when you're going out trying to figure out how to build a tech company, a lot of people look at you a little bit different. But I was able to get around the right people, make those connections, and get this out there. So the last 12 months is where we have really started to get that traction and gain momentum.
What do you attribute that to?
I would say just partnering up with Project 10K and getting out there and getting around the right people. So constantly taking action that led me to being around the right people that could sell what we're doing.
Well, yeah, that's really cool. I think taking action is, a lot of people don't really do it. There's a lot of waiting around for something to happen, and you can't just hope and pray for something to happen. You got to go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So taking action is one of my number one disciplines, and one of the number one things I say people can do. With anything that you want to go do, the first thing that has to happen is you have to take an action. And you have to continuously take actions because not every action is going to lead to something that's awe inspiring, but it's just about compounding that down. So every action you take, there's a compound effect for the next action that you take, and then the action after that. And then you just, once that compound effect keeps going, eventually something big happens from all of that.
Definitely the connections, the experience, all of that culminates into, you being able to do what it is you wanted to do. Or heck, even something even bigger.
Yeah, you never really know where it's going to end up taking you. But the first thing it always starts with is that very first action, and then a willingness to continue taking action.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people, they want something to happen immediately. I've heard the phrase, we live in a microwave society. You want everything in 3 to 5 minutes.
Yep, instant gratification is what people are looking for. But a lot of times that instant gratification takes years to create. And then when it comes, it can feel like it's all of a sudden instant and like all of this stuff's happening. But what a lot of people don't see is those years or months or just the hours of constant action and continuing to develop and create and not being afraid of what the results are that lead to that gratification.
I mean, in my opinion, that's the best way to go is to, slow and steady wins the race, because you see it, the 15-minute success stories where someone is dirt poor and next day they're a millionaire, billionaire because of an idea, and, they go crazy or, they get depressed or they don't know what to do with it. The limelight or what have you is too much. And, they said, I didn't know what to expect. I wasn't ready for all of this. And, it's better to, build something and actually know what to prepare for when success comes, because you've been working towards it, so you know what to expect.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, when you're building something, you learn so much along the way and you continue to become a different person and a better person. And you develop that skill set to be able to deal with anything that comes around. If we would have talked 12 months ago and you would have said, we're going to be doing this podcast here, I would have laughed. Because the podcasting thing is something I've had to develop and learn and take time and actually take the action necessary to become a podcaster and guest on podcasts. It's just not something that I naturally had the ability to do. So I had to hone those skills. And over the past few months, I've been able to get pretty good at it. But 12 months ago, it would have been a complete disaster.
Well, yeah, I still feel myself in those growing pains of, oh man, I wish I asked better questions, or I wish I delivered something in a better way, or I used some better words. But you have to suck at the beginning. You have to be willing to be bad at something if you want to get good at it. So, I'm just here putting in my time, putting in my hours, my experience, and hopefully over time it'll develop into something that like you said, you couldn't have imagined.
Yeah, and the thing is you're putting yourself in position to have those revelations and to ask yourself those questions. That's part of that taking action. That's part of that growth. That only happens if you're doing things that are putting you there. There's so many times where, you walk away from a situation and you're like, well, I wish I would have done this or that. Well, now for the next time, because it's all about the reps. The more reps you put in, the better you get at something, and the more prepared you are for when the big leads come a knocking, and you do have that big meeting or that big guest or something high profile ends up happening. You put in the reps down in the minor leagues. You're ready to step up to the big leagues and play ball with them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that drew me into podcasting as well, is that basically the playing field is leveled. You have like big corporations with, massive podcasts. You have hundreds of employees working on one show. And then there's, the little guy like me who I do everything. It's one person, but, we're on the same platform. It's the same people have access to your content and, they get to choose. So that's one of the things that I was like, wow, it's crazy for me because I work on my own show as well as I help produce and develop other people's shows, and I see them on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever. And I'm like, wow, like I'm right there, right next to Rogan's podcast or, the Daily Show or whoever, and it's like, wow, that's crazy. I get to, my fingerprints all over these productions.
Yeah, and that's what it's all about, is being able to get out there and be on that playing field. And that's where I'm headed with Nuttnest is I want to be out there on that playing field with all these big, I call them like the big dogs from Silicon Valley, the construction tech that was built by a technology firm that looks good on paper. It sounds good, but it's not implicatable or practical in the field because no one that was involved had anything to do in the construction industry. And that's one of the things that I pride us on is that we're designed for the construction industry by the construction industry. So we know that our software is applicable. It's field ready. You can go out and implement it and you don't have to worry about having to learn an entire new operating system or how to do anything because we just made it simple and we solved the problem. We just stuck to our core beliefs that communication needs to be better. We don't have to revolutionize how people message. We have to revolutionize where it happens and how they do it, not how it happens there. So we've stuck to a real simple platform that allows us to go out and on day one have an impact for our customers.
Yeah, simplicity is the best route all the time. I've always tried to tell people, you don't have to create anything new, especially if you are developing something that is to help an issue, start with the issue and then work around that. You don't have to, we have to develop systems for this and this and that. It has to be simple. The simpler, the better.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to solve the problem. What I like to say all the time, especially to the team, is we have to keep our promise that we're fixing communication, not try to become a CRM or not try to become an Angie's List or anything like that. We have to do all promise. And all promise is we're here to help customer communication. And that's what we do. And we want to do that really, really good. We want to be the best ever at it. And that's what's going to be our differentiator. It's not going to be because we can have this add-on or that add-on, or we put this widget here and it does this. That's not going to be what people remember Nuttnest for. They're going to remember it because it fixed customer communication and it was super simple and easy to use.
What does your service look like?
We're a B2B SaaS platform. So it's a mobile app download for homeowners. So homeowners just go on, download the Nuttnest mobile app. It's completely free. And then for contractors, we're web-based. They can access it from tablets to laptops to desktops to phones to be able to get in there and do all of their information. And the contractors are all customers. So they pay a monthly subscription to be on the platform and utilize it. We serve the contractor's customers, but our customer is the contractor.
Are your customers small or do you also work with large companies?
All the above. I came from a company that had just over 200 people, and that's what I originally designed this for. And we have customers that have as little as 1, 2, 3 employees on staff as well, because we're scalable. We can fit in there anywhere, and we're actually in the talks rolling out on the commercial side of things for job site communication as well.
So when did you start posting on YouTube and stuff like that?
So my YouTube channel, I started that about 40 days ago.
Oh, so fairly new.
Yeah, I am a fairly new YouTube poster, that and TikTok as well. I just recently decided, hey, let's start getting the knowledge out there. Let's share what we know, because that's what it's all about. It's about a transfer of knowledge. I figure I have about 16 years of leadership management under my belt, and I've done all kinds of stuff from owning companies to running companies. I have bought and sold companies. And I think it's time that knowledge starts to transition. And My mission is to help 5 million people in construction with communication. And the best way to do that is to get out there and just spread the word that we can be better communicators. So why not be on social media, YouTube, TikTok? It's what's led me to doing podcasts, speaking live, webinars, all of that kind of stuff is all stuff that I do to help further my mission and continue to just grow the construction industry. I want to change the overall mindset around it and let everybody know that the status quo doesn't have to be that way.
When you did your first podcast, did somebody reach out to you or did you put yourself out there? How did that happen?
Somebody reached out to me, and actually the first few of them went that way. And then once I kind of, like I said, it's not something I was remotely comfortable with, but I got out of my own head and said, I need to just start doing this. So after I did a first few of people that had reached out to me and refers where they wanted me to come on the show, I then started reaching out and networking and started contacting people that had podcasts and giving them my resume and what I do and what that looks like. And now I guest on podcasts all the time.
I mean, it's such a cool thing, sit down and learn from somebody and hear their ideas and, just share it not only between you, but then, with the audience. And I've always thought that was something that's really cool. And definitely networking is super important. People like to joke that it's not what you know, it's who you know. Mm-hmm. However, some people are like, oh, that's they laugh at that, but it's partially true because we don't know everything about everything. So we have to know the right people who do know stuff about the subjects where we're not strong in so that they can help us grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say one of the greatest things that's come from doing podcasts is the people and connections that I made and the friends that I made doing this. It's absolutely amazing. And then just knowing that just by having a conversation with somebody and talking, somebody can be listening and have that aha moment. Something could be said either by any party on the podcast that makes somebody realize, yes, this is what I needed to do, or, oh, hey, that makes sense. To me, that's where the power is at, because all it takes is that one aha moment for somebody to go take some action that completely changes their life. And that's what I want to help do. I want to help move the ball for people.
I see myself the exact same way. Like I said, I sometimes doubt myself. I wish I was a better interviewer, all this stuff. But, it can be 100 terrible podcasts. But all it takes is that one moment to inspire someone. And that's what we should all strive for. Keep doing what you do. And, hopefully that'll leave a good impact on somebody's life.
Yeah, I mean, that self-doubt is something that everybody faces all the time. And you have to just be able to get over that and power on, because that next phone call or that next meeting or the next person you meet could be the one that completely changes your world, like in a heartbeat. And you wouldn't want to give up right before you have that conversation, before that door opens up. So you got to keep going and keep making it happen. And don't get in your own head, because if we stay in our own head, bad things would just continue to happen.
Right. Yeah. And also, nobody will know the knowledge you have if you don't share it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I spent all too long sitting back and saying, it's all nice to have, but I didn't feel like I rated to share it, I guess would be the best way to put that. But at the end of the day, everybody has a story to tell, and it's your story to tell. And if you don't go tell it, then it doesn't matter. No lives will ever be changed. So I just decided I have to go tell my story, and hopefully somebody gets impact out of it.
In my experience, a lot of people in communication, that's kind of the goal. Anybody in any type of communications. So that's one of the beautiful things about, there's different methods of communication, whether it be text, whether it be talking with someone, or heck, even, radio shows and music. Those are all communication methods that are very effective. And It's beautiful how people you can pick one. You can decide to have conversations, you can decide to write music, you can decide to write a book, have a website, make videos, what have you. But it's all in the same spirit of trying to share your knowledge.
Yeah, I have a saying that I like to just go back to all the time is that when you're taking forward action without malice intent, no bad can happen from it. So as long as you're putting your best foot forward and you're doing stuff for the right reasons, no bad can come from it. Like that's what you have to be doing, and that's what everybody should be doing. Is we should just be taking all best action forward to help improve everybody around us as well as ourselves, and just continue to grow on a daily basis.
Ron, I feel like we speak the same language. I always tell people, as long as we're not moving backwards, we're doing something right. As long as we learn something new every day, as long as we are seeking out these new experiences and grow from it every single day, as long as we're not going backwards, we're doing good.
Yeah, hey, the universe is never wrong. It will put us in the right place at the right time. It's just up to us to figure out what that outcome is supposed to look like, and then up to us to take the action to make that outcome happen.
Oh yeah. Too many people are you got to have faith, but they don't take action. It's been said, faith without works is dead. How can you say I have faith in this, yet you don't work towards it? It just doesn't make any sense. What have you learned from doing podcasting or just appearing on other people's podcasts?
Everybody has a story to tell, and it's up to you to go tell your story. And that it's not that scary, because like I said, this is not my cup of tea, but it's not that scary. It's very doable, and you can have a great impact doing it. So, I would say if anybody has any knowledge on anything, go talk about it, because there's somebody out there that wants to learn about it. And you might just have that, like I said, that one tidbit piece that just causes an aha moment that completely changes somebody's life. And for me, doing something like that is a great impact. That's a legacy. You're creating, I like to say champions. I'm a big component of be a champion. So when you do that kind of stuff, you create champions that go out and win. And that's what we want people to go do. We want people to go win.
I like that. It's not that scary. You know how many people I've asked to be on the podcast and they're like, oh, I don't know what I'll talk about. I don't know, but if I'm asking you to be on the podcast, it's because you've done something that I think is cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, I used to be one of the people that were like, oh, I don't know. I don't think that's for me. But I came around to it because I knew like, this is how you can have an impact. And I've been on podcasts that I was episode 0, the very first one. And I've been on podcasts that have been on the air for 5-7 years and have millions of downloads. So there's a big array of things that you can go do, but it's just about doing it and taking the reps. And I always say yes. I'm not afraid to just go out. And if somebody says, hey, we want you to be on here, go do this. I think yes is a good answer.
I think that was one of my things too, is that when I started to even consider doing an interview type show, what I wanted to do was learn from others. I would like to be that podcast guest that's insightful and has a lot to share. I told myself, I don't know that I know a lot. So I was like, you know what? How about I just be the host and I learn from my guests?
But that's your action. That's your call to action. That the universe presented that, and that was the outcome that needed to be created. And you knew that, and you took the action to do it. And that's what we have to do. So we can all win at life. We can all be champions, and we can be the best version of ourselves every day.
Yeah, I like the saying, bravery doesn't mean there's no fear. It means stepping out and doing what you have to, even when you're afraid.
Absolutely.
Ron, it's been awesome talking to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a pleasure to be here. And I'd love to be back on. Anytime that you'd like to have me, feel free to reach out.
All right. Thank you so much. Do you have anything that you wanna share? Any?
Yeah, well, you can nuttnest.com to check out what we're doing there. And then Ron Nussbaum on any form of social media, from LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, you name it. Ron Nussbaum's on there.
And there you have it. Ron Nussbaum, everybody. I told you he was cool. As always, let me know what you thought of this episode. Let me know what you think of the show. Reach out to Ron. Let him know you heard him on the show, that you thought it was really cool. Links to all of his stuff will be in the description, as well as links to hit me up. I'm still looking for intro music, so if you want to submit some, feel free to do so. Remember, rating, reviews, and sharing the show with other people are probably the easiest and the best ways you can show your appreciation for the show. Thank you so much for listening till the end, and we'll talk next time. Bye-bye.